We were called alley dwellers. And the children didn't want a lot to do with us, the ones that lived outside of the alley. Got to the point where if I ran into anybody outside who didn't really know me, and they said, "Where do you live?" I said, "On 4th Street." And I see that just shut them right off, and they would leave me alone. So I was in denial of where I lived because of what I was going through, what they took us through. The alley was like an H. The court I lived in was like an H. And I had an uncle that lived in one part. It was a car wash right across from him. On that road was some houses and a car wash on that corner. And the car wash was next to Ford's Funeral Home, which faced 4th Street. And down on the other alley, on the corner, upstairs, on the left, my Aunt Janella lived with her husband. And my Uncle John lived across from her on the corner. And then it was a store on the corner, Mr. Fraser's store, and another little store that you could buy penny candy and stuff on this side of the alley. Across the street, my Uncle John and Aunt Patsy lived. And further up 4th Street by the People's Drugstore, which was on the corner of 4th and M, in that block right there, my Aunt Grace lived. I was my grandmother's sister. How was it living in the alley? A lot of stuff was going on because my father ran a gambling house. He sold liquor in a gambling house. So it was busy all the time. Plus he was a musician. So all the people who knew how to play music would come there on the weekends with their guitars, and he had a piano in there. My Uncle Sam played piano. So they were all, him and his brothers were all gifted in some way. And they had a little hold down there. What happens though is children had to stay in children's places. So we were never involved in that type of thing. But of course we could hear the music.
Well, Southwest was a new and developing community, and I moved there in 1961. The city had been wiped clean by urban renewal, and Southwest D.C. was part of that. So most of it had become just level fields. And buildings were rising, but it hadn't happened yet, or it was just in process. So the townhouses were being rented for the first time. We were the first renter in the little townhouse that we moved into. It was all starting up a neighborhood after the demolition process had occurred. It had been empty for a couple of years, and now suddenly new development was being allowed. It was clear that we had a large African American community, subsidized housing close to us. We were more middle-class people who were moving into townhouses and high-rises along 4th Street and that whole area in Southwest. It began to dawn on a number of us that there were big chasms socially between the lower income and overwhelmingly African American and the upper income, mostly white societies, people living right close to each other physically. A number of us began to think, well, what do we do to bridge some of that chasm? Which led eventually to the creation of the Southwest Neighborhood Assembly. We focused on having monthly meetings of the Southwest Neighborhood Assembly, and each meeting would have a speaker and a theme, be open to both parts of the community. And it was part of the community right away in terms of participation from both sides.
Southwest House was the first settlement house established in the country for its purpose. Its purpose was the advancement of colored people. I went there in, I think I got my job in 1969, somewhere around in there. And we worked until 2005. And I learned so much there. The people that I worked with, I strive towards them being economically sound. I felt that if we worked with them then, gave them the proper type of training and followed through on it, helped them to develop better jobs, that when this happened, it was inevitable. It was going to happen. Southwest was going to grow. That they would become a part of it and not be moved out. That's why I started trying to help to prepare them for it. That they'd be able to stay in Southwest because they could be easily moved completely out.